This game, for so many of us, it wasn't just a game. It was an experience. It was our first time that we saw 3D Zelda, and our first time wielding the Master Sword, and our first encounter with some of the most interesting characters. And guess what? My name is Nav, and we got an introduction to Navi, the fairy. Yeah, we all remember. But Ocarina of Time, to this day, is a masterpiece. It defined a generation of gamers and set a standard for action-adventure games for years to come. And even today, decades later, still holds a special place in our hearts. Think back to the first time you stepped on Hyrule Field, when the owl greeted you and you saw the vast open world, the sun was shining, Epona was galloping beneath you. It's just breathtaking. And the music in that game, oh my goodness. That had to have been one of the best soundtracks in video games, in my opinion. It perfectly captured the spirit of the adventure, the mystery, and the sheer epic scale of the game. The dungeons themselves, each was a unique challenge filled with clever puzzles and a theme that gave us emotions and feelings that really, some were dark, some were light, some were underwater. Whatever that final boss was, the underwater from the water temple. We're not going to talk about that boss. Some were filled with clever puzzles, memorable enemies, and terrifying bosses. I mean, who could again, the Shadow Temple and the Fire Temple, the music in that, and just the vibes of the Fire Temple, the panic that the Water Temple caused. Again, we don't talk about that weird Water Temple boss. It wasn't just the gameplay or the music. It was also the story. The tale of a young boy destined to save Hyrule from evil Ganondorf. The time travel mechanism, the emotional moments, and the friendship Link forged along the way. It was truly captivating as a narrative and resonated with all players who had the wonderful opportunity to play that game. The characters were absolutely incredible. From the wise and mysterious Sheik to the quirky Soraya and Zelda herself. Even Ganondorf when he kneeled down in the castle. One of the most iconic villains in video games of all times. Ocarina of Time, it wasn't just a game. It was a phenomenon, a cultural phenomenon. It was a game that introduced many of us to the world of video games. It was one of the first games I personally played as a kid. And I will continue to cherish that game for years to come. So let me talk about some of my favorite memories of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And in the comment section below, please pause and leave some of yours. I remember my uncle having a modded Xbox, the original Xbox, and he modded it and we were able to play Ocarina of Time. And I used to look up to my uncle and it was kind of cool. He was playing video games in my grandparents' basement or something. And I took a liking to it. I sat down, I wanted to play, I got into Halo and stuff. But one of the first adventure games I ever got my hands on was Zelda Ocarina of Time. And the feelings that I had, that game brought me I was obsessed with that game. I was obsessed with that world. I used to go to the park and pretend a pile of dirt was the Death Mountain. And, I used to, anytime we were playing in the park, I used to pretend that the sand, I was in Gerudo Valley, and the feelings that game brought. The only other Zelda game I think that really brought that type of feeling for me was Twilight Princess and Breath of the Wild. But Breath of the Wild, I was a bit older, so it wasn't the same childhood nostalgia. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane and this look back on such a masterpiece of a game, which is Zelda Ocarina of Time. Now, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe and like the video for more awesome content, and let me know in the comments what you think and what your favorite Zelda Ocarina of Time memory is. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.